Shambho Mahadev, Mahadev. So in the section of life beyond, Maharshi explained to us in the last chapter, the last class, Bhagavan explained about the Atman, that which is where one attains wants it here. So it is the Atman that is phenomenal, and that is what the truth Brahman. The evil is nothing but the consciousness of the body and consciousness of mind and consciousness of objects. The person who is, or the Jiva or the Atma, Jivatma, who rises above the body consciousness and mind consciousness, objective consciousness, reaches the status of the absolute consciousness. This type of consciousness cannot be there, so it is free from every kind of contamination. What happens is that, as we described about, he discussed about an embankment which is created by the body consciousness and mind consciousness. We create an embankment, and all those, when we create an embankment through the tapasya, through the identification of the Atman, all the evils and all the contaminations, they come and bounce back from that embankment, which doesn't allow it to penetrate through that embankment, and therefore the Atman is always pure. That purity of Atman is always maintained because of this, the embankment or the bifurcation, or the bifurcation created due to the process of non-identification of body and mind and object. So the pure subjective experience. It is difficult for normal human beings to attain this status unless he has prescribed one or two things, even though we have already gone through it. But certain prescriptions he would like to tell us, remind us rather, to adopt this status. Unless this status is perceived, unless this status is reached, there is no point in doing anything. Otherwise, one has to. There is a point, of course. Otherwise, one has to repeatedly come to this physical world and experience it. Again, go back to come again in order to experience, that's all. This cycle of janana, marana, punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam, as Adi Shankaracharya said, will keep on continuing in order to attain that absoluteness. This is only for the purpose of attainment of the absoluteness. It's all simple to understand that, like in a rice mill, or like in any flour mill, or like in any other product, let it be liquids or solids or whatever it is, the pulp or the grains that is being ground is passed through a kind of screen. Unless that ground material becomes the size of that screen, whole of the screen, it doesn't pass through. It will be filtered back again. It is something like that. So in order to make that, what happens? It has to grind to that specification. There is no excuse to that, you see, because the standardization of that grain has been prefixed. Flour has been prefixed for a particular cause. So in order to attain the result of the benefit of that product, the grain has to reach that status, then only you can attain the benefit of it. In the same manner, unless these discipline and practices are attained by the human, one cannot attain the Brahmatattva, Brahmacharya. It's very simple. Because yes, God, like we always, every day we experience it. When you make through a juice which passes through a particular filter, it doesn't become liquid. To identify it is liquid, it has to pass through that screen which is created by the, what is that screen? That screen is very intelligently, very systematically, and with all sorts of evolutionary practice, one has designed that screen. See, one should know, if this passes through this screen, with this product, all these things can be made, and all this will become liquid. The standardization of the liquid is already ascertained by an expert, and he created the screen according to that. What should be the size of the screen? He need not to every time inspect the product that comes out of the screen, whether it is palatable or not. Once it passes through the screen, it is. That's all. He's confirmed it. That's all. Same way, Bhagavad Sakshatkaram here, he says that the Atman that connects one world with the other is also like the embankment over which days and nights cannot pass. So when that what is that embankment? How is that embankment created? Embankment is created only through the awareness, the consciousness of the out of body and out of mind experience, consciousness. So not to be conscious of the body and mind also will allow this embankment to be created, so that the evil, what is that evil? Evil is again nothing but the body consciousness. It's nothing other than that. That is the evil in us. All the evil in us is only because of the body and mind. Once the presence of the body and mind, or once the importance or the priority to the mind and body is neglected, the evil will not be there. Evil comes only for the purpose of survival of the body and mind, or for the purpose of ego satisfaction, which is again, as ego, we are not talking about mind and body, we are saying. That's the ego satisfaction, you see. Unless that ego, that means ego is what? Ego is meant for the body, mind. Ego is from the mind, and ego is meant for the pleasure of the body, that's all. The pleasure of the mind or pleasure of the body, both are same, whichever what we can say that. So that is called the evil, that's all. That what you ascertain and that what you attain, that what you concentrate on, that you strive for, only for the body consciousness and mind consciousness, this cannot pass through that embankment. It has to come back, that's all. So whether it is good or bad, right or wrong, is a different thing. If that which has come back means it has to come back again into the convolution. The product which has been filtered once again goes back for the grinding, and again it is ground Out of that, some more will come out. Again, it goes on the grounding. Again, some more will come out. Again, some more. It keeps, the process keeps on going. So, till the time that is refined, that discipline, through the discipline of the grinding, it is refined, the final product cannot be attained. Same way, same thing happens in this case also. Whatever said and done, in the initial stages, there will be a lot of questions and doubts. Normally, every human being, because he has not undergone this process of experience through the past life karmas, that is why Maharishi Yajnavalkya, so Maharishi Vaishambhayana has already told once that there has to be some basic knowledge in order to listen to Upanishad. Otherwise, it's not possible. An animal cannot understand it. It's not possible. He has to reach that consciousness by way of Karma Yoga. Through Karma Yoga, he has to slog, and ultimately he has to identify, why am I slogging? So through Karma Yoga, he attains there. Through Bhakti Marga, he attains there. Through some other Margas, he attains there. But ultimately, he has to attain that Jnanam in order to perceive that truth. Now, this is the truth that has to be attained. There is no other way. Yes, one has to struggle. That's why they say that there has to be an inquisitiveness. There has to be an inquiry. There are so many words have been used. There has to be a constant inquiry in the mind. Why, how, and why? Why not? How not? What am I this? Am I that? So many books have said, who am I and what am I and where am I going? See, these are all questions. They're all inquisitiveness from the mind. So these questions, you should get an answer. This question is that the beginning of the inquiry towards that realization. So, otherwise it is only, it ends with it remains with the body consciousness and mind consciousness, with pleasure and pain. One is happy or unhappy. He keeps on going from one Janma to another Janma without deriving any benefit of it. One has to, at a point of time, when one starts realizing and understanding and these questions come, at least one should be able to perceive the idea of that these are the truths and this has to be implemented in order to attain the experience of it. So this implementation is the part of it is difficult. Many will read it, many will hear it, many will understand it, and then it stops. It doesn't give any benefit out of it. Just listening, just understanding, just knowing will not get any benefit of it unless one perceives it and one practices it. Then only, because a transformation is necessary. These are all methods for the transformation. Now, thinking of juice and keeping the orange in the hand is of no benefit. It has to be put into a grind. Nowadays a grinder, olden days some other method. Some way or other, this has to be squeezed and the pulp has to be taken out and the juice has to be crushed and passed through a filter. Then only it can be used. Now, whatever said and done, there is no point in saying that, knowing that orange has got juice. Orange, if you crush one orange, this much of ounce of juice will come, and this will be the color of the juice, and this will be the density of it. So much of water particle will be there, so much of sugar will be there, so much of citric acid will be there, so much of this will be there in the orange juice. All this knowledge can be there. None of this knowledge will benefit for a person to make that juice from the orange which is there in his hand. Will it happen? No. This has to undergo this. Very clear? That's what Maharishi probably wants to say. We simplified it with an example which we are familiar with. In the second section of the analysis of the nature of the self or the life beyond, Bhagavan says, so when that passes through, when that embankment is crossed through, what is that? Even a blind one becomes free from evil of blindness. The moment he crosses this bridge, which is called the Atman, he has to cross the bridge of the Atman. wounded one are no more wounded there. He is just this all. I just read it. That people who are distressed are no more distressed. Grieved ones are no more grief. Nights look like day. Night does not exist there because time does not exist. Space does not exist. Night and day cannot exist. External light, eternal light is this Brahman. This Brahman is that eternal light. When you cross the Atma, then only that brightness can be seen. Till then, that embankment makes it dark. You've got all sorts of classifications of that. And then it is eternal, perpetual, unending self-luminosity. It's a self-luminosity. Where is the illumination? There is no identification of self there. There is no self there. There is no Atma separate there. There is no something else separate there. There is only light. That's all. There is no enjoyer, as I has told earlier. There is no experiencer. There is no enjoyer. There is only light. That is called Brahmaloka, he said. The Brahmaloka does not mean a different world, as we say in normal world, because we have already explained what is world. World is that field of experience is world. So there are different consciousness, different vibrations, means different consciousness is called different. We call it as different world. Is different consciousness is existing, no doubt about it. Depending upon one's status of understanding, one's status of evolution, different consciousness and different layers are remaining. That's why we called it, as earlier we said, layers. Then we said vibrations, then we said consciousness. All are same. Different stages of your progress of crossing the embankment, that means crossing the Atman towards the Brahmaloka. These, any number of stages you create, they are all your loka. For some, generally it has been told it is 7 lokas. For some there can be more lokas, depending on experience. Because as I said, in our day-to-day experience itself, we have different lokas. You talk to somebody who is not listening, he may be thinking of something else. So you say that, oh, he is in his own world. His own world was only for that time, till the time he was thinking that. And when he came back, he is in your world. You say, oh, now you have come back to this world. He says, as if this person is standing in the right world. So the field of experience is called Loka. Then the third section that is 8.4.3. 8.4.3, he says that Tadye vidam brahmalokan brahmacharyena. Continues the shloka like that. He describes about the necessity of Brahmachayatwa. Freedom untrammeled in the blessing of those who have reached this realm of the Brahmaloka through practice of continence. Abstaining from things. Continence is that. That is renunciation, continence, Brahmachayatwa. We have already described many things about Brahmachayatwa. And low limit can be there, either their powers or to their capacities to visualize things. Now what happens? The moment one is crossing that, there will be no limit of visualization of things, and or to their knowledge, or even to their own existence. It is limitlessness from every side, as the concluding portion of this third chapter, after the 7th chapter of this Upanishad have already told us. Section 5 now in the 3.5.1. In 3.5.1 of this Upanishad, 3.8.1, correct, 3.8.5.1. 8.3.5.1. Eighth chapter, fifth chapter, 8.5.1. Sorry, I all confusion. I am in different world, I am somewhere else, so you are talking something else. I don't understand. 8.5.1. So importance of the Brahmachayatwa. Brahmacharya. We have already discussed about the Brahmacharya earlier. Brahmacharya. Brahmacharya is Brahmacharya. Brahmacharya, Upasana of the Brahma Tattvas and Brahma Sakshat. It's not a small thing. Brahma Sakshatkaram, Brahma Tattvam, Brahma Jnanam. Acharana of that. That means practicing that. In order to practice that continence or abstaining from many things have to be there. Abstaining from there is not by forceful action. Continence is not forceful action. Continence, we have told about Brahmacharya, what all the necessities of Brahmacharya we have told in the Patanjali Yoga Sutra when we discussed about it. Yama Niyama Asana Pranayama Pratyahara Dharana Dhyanam Samadhi comes to Brahmacharya. That's it. See, they are all Brahma, they are all put together is Brahmacharya. 7 important equal points are there to follow that for the Brahmacharya. They are all meant for, now you can make 7 into 14, doesn't make any difference. Or 7. This is somebody has standardized as 7. For another person it may be 10. Fine, no problem. It's okay. You make it 10. The purpose is that, no, it should be Brahmacharya. Continence has to be there. Abstinence from those activities which are not for the purpose of the Sakshatkaram, for the purpose of the moksha margam, for the purpose of the sannyasam. That's why it is known as sannyasam. Nyasa means continence. Nyasa means abstaining. Nyasa means renunciation. That's called nyasa. Sam nyasa. For the benefit of the sam is that the consciousness, the supreme superiority or the supreme or the auspiciousness. You renounce is called sannyasa. It's nothing other than that. In Ayurveda, there is a disease identified called as sannyasa rogam. You know that. There's a roga called sannyasa roga. Don't misunderstand. This sannyasa, when I spoke, suddenly, I remember that. That's sannyasa rogam. There are some people who go into like that. They don't know. They are not conscious. No? They are not sannyasis, but they don't understand anything. They don't realize anything. They get up and walk like night walkers, doing and things like that. And they do many things, but not consciously. That's called sannyasa roga. This is not roga. Sannyasa is not a roga because it appears to be like a sannyasi behaving. They called, the Ayurveda called it as sannyasa roga. You can call it as Alzheimer's or things like that. They're all sannyasa roga. That is sannyasa roga. They're not aware what they are doing, but here it is with the consciousness in sannyasam. So the importance of that is a great chapter. I think we have discussed Brahmachayatwa quite extensively in the previous chapters, so we are not going into all those details. I am only saying that Brahmacharya, that is Brahmatva. Whatever you do, it should be meant for attainment of the Brahman, attainment of the consciousness of the, what is that now? After learning so much of these chapters and all that, we can only simply say that abstinence or the renunciation or the continence is meant for helping you to promote rising above the body and mind consciousness. That's all. Every activity, whatever activity you do, it should help you to promote your rising above the body mind consciousness. So that's called Brahmacharya. So when that is attained by that, in that, many people are, there are strict discipliners. We are coming to many of the things now. Later, how the physical feeling would be and things like that. There are so many, by forcefully attaining the Brahma. Even that Santara done by Jains, Jainis, without eating, fasting. Fasting is a Brahmacharya. Fasting is a sannyasa. Fasting is Brahmacharya. Silence is Brahmacharya. Santara is a Brahmacharya. In Santara, what happens is that not eating. But what happens is that lately it has become that the not eating has become a forceful activity, and it has been given importance for not eating has become important. But actually, originally, what happened? The transformation takes place in a person, and he starts not eating. That's all. It's a natural system. Yes, it's a natural system. But here, what happens? Not eating for the purpose of moksha. No, that is where the mistake comes. He is, somebody at a particular age, old age normally. I don't think any young man in Jains have taken Santara. Now you understood? I understood, I know that. Why? Santara is done only at the old age. See, the purpose of the Santara itself is lost. That's what I'm saying. See, Santara is started with a good purpose. The principle is correct. Principle is right. Principally it is right. Like fasting is done for the purpose. When he becomes a sannyasi, he doesn't require the food like what he used to be with the consciousness of the body and mind. It was meant for the body and mind. What we are eating for is for the body and mind. When he becomes a sannyasi, he has risen above the requirement of it. Automatically he doesn't feel high hunger, he doesn't feel the taste, he doesn't feel any necessity, and he is preoccupied with the Brahmacharya. And he doesn't eat. That is called real Santara. Here what happened? People do not eat that too. That's why I said no young man has done it. That means Santara principle is only meant for dying. So that is why it is banned by the court of law today, because it is an act of commitment of suicide, it has been told. Why? Because it amounts to that. It has come to a status of suicide instead of sannyasa. You see, that's the difference. So why I told that specifically? There is a very good example of there which is available today in our world. I think today it is banned. I have seen it personally also. People who are under Santara slowly dying, shrinking, no food. But that is not self-control. That is not continence. That is not abstaining. Abstinence of food means not forcefully abstaining from that. Not forcefully abstaining from that act. Forcefully abstaining from that act makes you more attracted towards that. Rather, you become more contaminated, as Upanishad here has told. You become more contaminated, you become more adulterated, because your thought will be only that. Oh, I am not supposed to do that, I am not supposed to do it, I am not supposed to do it. As I always told people who are fasting, from the morning they get up, they start talking about the fast only. That day, at least number of times they would repeat that, I am on fast, I am on fast. He is reminding himself he is on the fast, and only thing that waiting for when the sunset comes. Like in people in Karwa Chauth, they say that the moon doesn't come up soon. Moon comes up at the same time only. But for this person, it looks to be very long. Okay. Same way, the day you are on fast, the evening day doesn't pass, because Now that fasting is not Brahmacharyatva. Brahmacharyatva is that fasting, it automatically comes. A necessity, it is not due to out of a particular requirement, it is a natural phenomena. So Brahmacharyatva is that, we said that, continence, abstaining from that. The contact of Brahman is Brahmacharya. Contact of Brahman is Brahmacharya. To live as Brahman would be Brahmachari. How Brahman is, in that way one should be. It's very difficult to conceive this. It's a total abstraction of the senses in the sublimation of consciousness which cognizes itself alone to the exclusions of everything else. This is the only practice which one has to endeavor for that. In the sannyasa, what happens is that you have to, all the indriyas will be under the abstinence. That's it. This is called the real Brahmacharya. All the indriyas, all the dashendriyas should be in absolute abstaining from that. That's why Upanishad always explains an example of the tortoise is always shown as an example. It withdraws. You should be in a position to withdraw itself into the shell. All the indriyas should withdraw its attraction, attachment, towards the external objective experiences should be withdrawn to the Atman, absolute Atman. So that what happens? This is called abstinence or continence. So it is not a particular act, proves that he is a brahmachari. Oh, he is wearing such clothes or eating that food, walks without slippers, or does this thing. He doesn't become a brahmachari. Not at all. He can wear any cloth he likes. There's no problem. No. In fact, anything what he gets, he can wear. He can eat, no problem. The principle of his concentration, his mind, his consciousness should be in the Brahma Tattva. So, when the consciousness is in the Brahma Tattva, automatically you will find most of this abstinence takes place. Many people think this abstinence like this has to be done, then he becomes a brahmachari. No. This is what I always contemplated on. Many ashrams also teach like this. First you do this, you do this, you do this, you do this, then you are a brahmachari. Now a person who is not prepared for the changes, even though he desires to have it, he might be sincerely desiring to be a sannyasi, but what happens whenever this enforcement takes place in him, there is always a reluctance to do that, you see. This reluctance will create the embankment which doesn't allow the principle to pass through that and he becomes a true sannyasi, or he takes a lot of time to understand it. See? Simply shave off your head. No. He has to realize, I don't require this head. This head is the problem. The hair is the problem. Like Buddha did. After traveling few steps, he said, what for adornment? Shave it off. Is it necessary to shave the head for a brahmachari? No. It's not necessary. But it is necessary. It becomes necessary for him at a later stage. What becomes? It creates an impedance for him. It creates an obstacle for him, for his practices, because you have to clean it. It becomes a problem, and maybe jadas will be there. and it all scratching and all that. No, it creates a physical discomfort at that point of time. When that comes, he removes it automatically. It is not for the purpose of sannyasa he is removing the hair, but removal of hair automatically happens when the consciousness comes, when the conscious Brahmacharya comes. You understand what I am trying to tell? You see that whatever maybe that you cannot literally put these examples. You may have hundreds of questions behind that, but that's okay. Questions may be there. These examples are meant to make us understand what is important. The importance is that his destination has to be fixed. As Brahmachari said, as Maharishi said, there should be a basic knowledge to understand Upanishad. Anybody can come and sit and then listen to Upanishad. He will have thousands of questions in his mind. That's natural. It is absolutely natural. See, for you yourself, if I stated this chapter about 1 year back, what would be the condition? This consciousness and then and the chapters of all this where the Brahman, Atman is concerned and death is concerned. Today, after we are traveling through all the path, realizing that it's not new. It's perceivable. The matter is perceivable. So, similarly, these things are necessary, is what Maharishi said, that basic understanding and knowledge. Others are not eligible to, they will listen it. Eligibility means not that you will go to close your ears. No. There are some who opens the ears and listens at Upanishad. Some who doesn't listen will be more of, both of them are equal. There is no difference between them. One has listened it and neglected it, another has not at all listened it. The result of both are same. They are not in the path of Brahmachayatwa, that's all. But one who really wants to walk into that path and has determination, has got a goal towards it, and then ideas are these are not for, we do not know. Nobody is born with these knowledges. One has to learn it, see. So one has to learn it, that's all. That what we do not know, we learn. Even in our life, each and every activity in our life, we learn each and everything. Same way, we have to learn this also. Why? When it comes to Upanishad and spirituality, there are only questions. Why should we learn this? You prove this, then we learn it. Before making sambar, prove that sambar is okay, good, it will become good, then I will make it. What does anybody say that? No. Make it, it will become good. Make it, it will become good. Here, when it comes to spirituality, there is a reluctance for the mind to accept, because he is not prepared. His mind is not prepared. He is not prepared to transform himself. Then why unnecessarily waste your time and my time? See? Here's what Maharishi says. People should have that acceptance. So in the importance of in the Brahmacharyatwa, it is the total abstraction of the senses in sublimation of the consciousness, which recognizes itself alone to the exclusion of everything else. This is the only practice which one has to endeavor for. By the practice of this, one would have performed every other duty in this world. Many run away from the duty and take sannyasa, escaping from duty. But the true sannyasi, he automatically says, he performed, he would have already performed every other duty in this world. Adi Shankaracharya, at the age of 9, he walked away. He would have been supposed to be doing so many things as far as a human body and mind is concerned. But having got enlightenment towards that Brahmacharya, automatically what happened? The other karmas have got dissolved in it. As I told you, when we walk into spirituality, when our consciousness transforms into the first level to the fifth layer, let us say, automatically the activities of other layers are diluted into this. There is no question of, I have not gone through it, I have not practiced it. No, it is already practiced. Otherwise you would not reach, you should also remember, otherwise one would not reach the fifth layer. Having fifth layer from the first layer, sitting there first layer, you have attained the fifth layer experience, means you have already attained all the four layer experience. So one jumps. So we think it is externally, appears to be jumping. So externally, somebody at the age of 9 as Adi Shankaracharya taking sannyasa is strange, and it is something abnormal for normal humanity. But as far as Adi Shankaracharya is concerned, he has already completed, because of his evolution towards that. He has already attained the Brahmacharyatwa through that, at that age, through the practices. So that is why all other duties gets over. One is that avoiding duty and getting. See, both will look same. Both will, for a normal person, both will appear to be same. Both are evading duties and running away. For him, he also has gone away from the duties. He also has gone away from the duties. Now, who is a real sannyasi? Both are looking same. Probably this one who has run away is looking much better as sannyasi. Because he is consciously doing everything to be a sannyasi. The other one is, no, he's only Brahmacharya. He doesn't know what's happening. He's a true sannyasi. This one may appear to be that. Yes. What is that? So he says, it's not the question of no. So both will look same. For a person who doesn't understand that, then who will recognize them? The one who is a rishi, who is a tapasvi, who is a jnani, who has crossed the bridge of the Atman, will understand who is a true brahmachari. Whether this man who is wearing all the discipline of the clothes and shaved head and then this extra, etc., or this man, the other, who is simple, who is doing his karmas as a brahmachari, who is a true one, can be understood only by the, we call it as Ishvara. He only knows. God alone knows, we say. One word, no? God alone knows. Who is that God? The one who has crossed the Atma, one who has crossed the Brahmaloka even, one who has attained the Ishvaratva. No? Ishvara as an individual is not there. No? Ishvara or God has been specified by the Bhakti Marga. The Brahman is known as God. In Vedanta, God is known as Brahman. And the consciousness and the jnanam. So ultimately that. This specification has to be clearly understood. No, don't bifurcate this into different parts. They are all the same. So depending upon the mind, what it accepts. Somebody's mind will not accept that Brahman is there, God is not there. No, God is there. If it is that, okay, God is there, fine. Because God is Brahman, there is no dispute. No Shastras refuses you to call Brahman as God. No Shastras have told. No Shastras have also told to call God as Brahman. Or consciousness or Jnanam or Brahman. That's all. So, it depends upon your level of consciousness and the growth, you call whatever it is. Yes. For a person who is in this consciousness, will call the God as something else, this God as something else. So Bhagavan said, because every other duty is a tendency towards the fulfillment of this duty. This is what Upanishad tells us in the following passages. In 8.5.1 shloka, Bhagavan said, Atha Yadyajna itya chakshate brahmacharyameva tad brahmacharyena eva yo jnadatam vindetetaha. Yadishtamitya chakshate brahmacharyameva tad brahmacharyena heveshtvam atmanam anubindate. At yadyascha itya chakshate brahmacharyeva. That which one calls as sacrifice. What we call as sacrifice. No? Yajna. I told you about the yajna also in the previous class. Yes, yajna. Yajna is, even though Maharishis in the Treta Yuga, they did the yajna physically, pouring ghee and dhridam and everything, and did the oblations and things like that. But unless the great tapasvis, great jnanis, how did they do the yajna? Atma yajna they have done. By sitting and doing tapasya, through that they did the yajna. Yajna is that oblation. He himself has oblated. That initially it is not possible for every human being. Or even after doing so much of practice, the oblation is very difficult. So these practices are there, the yajnam. So here the word yajnam came, so I said about the yajnam, that's all. The holy performance, worship. All these are equivalent to continence. All this yajna, all this worship, a performance, everything is equivalent to continence. Even doing a puja is Brahmachayatwa. No, anything connected, as I told you, towards the upliftment of the consciousness towards that is a Brahmachayatwa. That's called Brahmachayatwa. But they remain in the same status for ages together. Then there is no point. From Brahmacharyatva, one has to rise above Brahmacharyatva. Brahmacharyatva is one of the status, that's all he is telling. So he has only told about the importance of Brahmacharyatva. Initially this Brahmacharyatva is necessary. In the mind, let people talk anything. In the mind, there should be Brahmacharyatva. Your external behavior or externally you may appear to be XYZ. What is there? Ignorant people might talk anything. He is not connected with any of these things. He said Ninda again. No. One of the Brahmacharyatva. Ninda. Sukarya Ninda. In the mana, Ninda should not come. That's all. He will discuss about others. It may appear to be a Ninda for another person. For an ordinary person, when he says that he is not doing his practice right, but he should be doing his practices this way. When he says that, it may, for a normal person who has not undergone the process of Brahmacharyatvam, it may appear to be a Ninda. But as far as he is concerned, it is not Ninda, because in his mind it is not considered as Ninda. He is just telling that, that's all. Ninda will not be. Sokarya, in Swabhava, the Ninda should not be there. In Shastras, they said, there is only one person. In Mahabharata, Bhagavan Krishna said, there is only one person who had this quality. Do you know that? He is Ashwatthama. He doesn't have this. No, he's absolutely, it's a jnani actually. Ashwatthama. He doesn't have the quality of the Ninda. If he has to tell something, it will be told in the crowd on the face. He has told that. He will not think in his mind. As I told you some time back, in some classes back, the moment I start thinking something bad, I am proceeding that to the thought, and the thoughts which are proceeding after that will always have the contamination of this thought, and all the thoughts which are coming after that will be contaminated. Where will the poison go? You keep a poison in the orifice of a place and make the water flow. Any amount of water you may flow, it will all become poison. These are all self-control, continence, they said. Abstinence from the remove that, the old water is pure. That's all that has to be done. This has to be there. So mind, even. So thought is the process. Mind is a process. It's a vichara that makes it. So it's a practice of discipline of the maintaining that discipline of the Brahmachayatwa in the mind. That's why I said some time back, just now I told you, every activity that you do should be for the purpose of the Brahmachayatwa. Every activity that we do should promote us in the consciousness towards the upliftment, towards the Brahmachayatwa, or towards the going. What I told was going away from the body consciousness. Okay. Well, you call it as body consciousness, or you call it as Brahmacharya. Is there any difference? Brahmacharyatvam and going away from body consciousness, both are same. In Brahmacharyatva also what happens? You are abstaining the indriyas, withdrawing the indriyas from its activities. In order to withdraw the indriyas from its activities, it's a great power. Yes. So this is known as the self-control. When we call it as self-control, it has got a tinge of a forceful activity, control. Yes. That is not that. Even though in this language, English, they say control, it's not, I have always told this, in any matter for that matter, it is not, it's abstaining from that activity. The indriyas should automatically get abstained from that. Hunger should not be there to the indriyas, so that the question of eating or not eating doesn't take place at all. This is what happens to the brahmachari. Not eating, even though there is a hunger, is not brahmacharyatvam. Fasting, even though there is hunger, it's not brahmacharyatvam, it's fasting. Okay. Up to that it is fasting. Fasting as the step of brahmacharyatvam is totally different again. The withdrawal of indriya continence has to be there. Abstinence or continence has to be there. Do you understand the difference between now? What should be that? Yes. It's not that by doing that I become a brahmachari. Okay, that's very simple. I don't feel like eating today. Whole day I will fast. No problem. Equivalent to brahmacharya. During the practice of this sacrifice, we call it as sacrifice or a holy performance, worship. All this is equivalent to practice of continence. But as I told you, they should not be a forceful act, because continence brings all these results which any kind of sacrifice would bring to the performer of the sacrifice. The knower of the truth, though the practice of self-control, attains this benefit which accrue by performance of a sacrifice. He also says, Bhagavan Maharshi also says that, fine. If you have a specific, the intention is brahmacharyatvam, then you do this also, because your intention is purely to attain the brahmacharyatvam. Certain things which you may do, may be appearing to be forceful, doesn't matter. You continue that, it will become automatically the system. Now, one keeps on getting up early morning and chanting, keeps on getting up early morning and meditating. Now, even though initially it is all done, it has to be forcefully. Initially, there is no other way. Forcefully done. But if your mind and intention and the goal is there, it slowly transforms to brahmacharyatvam. It won't be difficult. But if you say that by doing this I will become a brahmachari and do it, you will not become a brahmachari. Then it's a forceful act. In your mind there should be brahmacharyatvam. I am doing this in order to attain that. This is my practice. By practice. I do that, nothing wrong. By doing it, he says, the person who is a performer of this sacrifice will attain the result. That is also there, naturally. If I learn to write and one day I will have a good handwriting. So, okay. So, Brahmacharya has got great importance in our spiritual walk. Even one attains during the process of while living itself, even one is working, one is doing his own karmas, even during the process also, certain amount of Brahmacharya help can be attained. There is no problem at all. It's okay, let the work go on. You do it when you work properly without any of these, there's so many things, contaminations in the work field also. There are people who don't get involved into all that. He does his job perfectly well. He is equivalent to a brahmachari. A man who works sincerely, honestly, without creating problems with others, without creating problem for the universe, without creating problems, like he does his performance okay. Like a sannyasi does. He is not bothered about what others are talking, what others are doing. He does his performance well. He is also a brahmachari. This way, while you are in the normal way of living also, many, may not be all, but many of the qualities of Brahmachayatwa can be attained even during the process. Then it is easier for them to attain the complete Brahmacharya after he retires from the normal activities also, when he goes to the Vanaprastha. So that also, but this has to be done because initially itself it has to be, all of a sudden one fine morning, okay, from tomorrow I am retired from the job, no more work, not to go to the office, so something has to be done. So from tomorrow onwards, shave my head and do Brahmacharya. That doesn't happen. You will only shave your head every day, that's all. Atayat. He's speaking about another method called, by which one attains to every benefit which would otherwise come as a result of the performance of the Vedic rituals. Now, we are just passing through certain experiences of physical experiences when you compare with the Vedic experiences. No. It's just telling us how it can be. Like he said, this is what I was telling you, Satrayana. Satrayana is again a session of sacrifice. Sattara or Satra, they call it as Sattara. This Satra, that's it. Is a yajna, a sacrifice, a session of performance of the sacrifices of Satrayana. Is great ritual enjoined in the Vedas. But this ritual called Satrayana is equivalent to the practice of continence, self-control. Satrayana is word used to designate this particular sacrifice. And here the Upanishad gives a particular etymological resemblance of the result that follows the practice of continence to the meaning of the words Satrayana. Sat Atmanastranam Vindate Satrayanaha is the way it is split. Sat is being, Trayana is the way of freedom, Trayate, Trayana is the way of freedom. Attain the benefit of the perfection of the way. One protects oneself, frees oneself by contact of true being. This is important. Any activity that you are doing should be that one protects oneself, frees oneself by contact with true being. By contact with a true being, then the activity is done. Automatically you are in that position. This is where your mind, this in a different words and forms, I have already told many days back also. We had been frequently telling that, whenever I told in a simple language that whatever you do, whenever you do, at the mind, back of your mind, this should be there. Let that be there, then you do anything under that shade, automatically the instructions will automatically come from that. This is what exactly he's talking about. That your being attachment, being to with the being should be there, so that the freedom will automatically come. The freedom means here Brahmachayatwa. So it's equivalent to Satrayana. One need not to do the Santara, one need not to do this, one need not to do, no. They are being done in order to attain that Brahmachayatwa. Through that practice they are trying if they can attain it or not. So they are going in a hard way. These are the differences when the knowledge is there or knowledge is misinterpreted. Somebody insists that no, one has to go through that, then only it is possible. No, it is not necessary. That what he says, that if a person is mentally, and if a person practices that being with the Brahman, that means, as I told you, that every activity we should be conscious that it is there. So what happens? Our each and every action will become automatically as a Brahmacharya. He also attained the same benefit of Satrayana. One need not to undergo the process of Satrayana for ages, years together. He does the yajna. This can be attained in just one moment. This also is possible. So that is what is possible. That is what is the performance of the Vedic sacrifice. Even though the rituals have been mentioned. The rituals have been mentioned for, as I told you, from every human being is not same. Every human being's conscious level is not the same. Understanding is not same. So for a person who has, let me call it as a low conscious level, in the sense, a low understanding level, suddenly a higher degree of understanding is transmitted to him. For him it is to perceive is very difficult. So one has to start from his level of understanding. So from his level of understanding, things have to be developed. So they are all methods Maharishis have developed for people to gradually step from one to the other. Otherwise it will be too much of taxing for them to the brain. When it becomes too much taxing for the consciousness, it withdraws from the activity automatically. It doesn't have any interest. So one should have an interest. That's what we call it as interest. The name interest itself is there. See, when you invest money, you should have interest. When you invest yourself, there should be an interest. See, that's why the interest has come. So interest has to be there. If the interest is there, automatically you invest. You see. Oh, what is the interest? There is no benefit out of it. There is no investment. Here, what is the interest? So that interest, when it is there, what happens? This sort of rituals are not necessary. As I earlier also I have told you about the rituals when we were talking about the acharam, when we were discussing, we said the rituals are there. It is only for people who are not attained that status. To do that, they have to pass through this ritual so that they understand it. A person who has risen above all this, for him the ritual has no meaning. But for this person, ritual has a meaning because it is a stepping stone for him. That's how he slowly rises above the rituals. So rituals are necessary as far as that particular consciousness or part is concerned. Same way, these things are there. But Jnanam in the Upanishad says, a person who has gone through the Upanishad, have attained certain level of understanding, a level of perception, and level of consciousness, he need not to undergo the rituals. Suddenly one fine morning you get up and say, I don't believe in rituals, will be a very arrogant, foolish statement that one will be making. Many people are telling that, oh, I don't believe in it. Many of them, they said, oh, I don't do any of this one. I don't do that, I don't do this. One has to do it. We need a medium through which we have to pass through, because our consciousness need a medium to pass through in order to attain that. TK. One goes to the temple every day and prays, nothing wrong. Nothing wrong. That is the way he has to grow. He will grow. One doesn't go to the temple, but he prays. That's why he has to grow. He will grow. Which is right? Both are right. Now tell me honestly. I'll tell you an example for this. Beautiful example. Only example. Which comes to me. There may be so many. Adi Shankaracharya, great Vedanti, composed all the 4 Vedas when it was all destroyed. You know that was a stage when Hinduism was almost in the state of dissipation actually. That is the time when Adi Shankaracharya went to Brahmacharya Gautama's ashram and found all the documents are scattered here and there. Certain pages are not there. Some of them are eaten by the white ants. If the white ants were there those days. Okay, that's it. And things like that. All has happened. Now, he is the one who took out all the documents, separated Vedas, Rig Veda, Samveda, Yajurveda, Atharvana Veda, in all the system, in the practices, divided it, and then this, which was written by Veda Vyasa originally, divisions. This was divided, put it into proper files, and then the missing pages were added by Adi Shankaracharya, man who knew the Vedas in here, you see. So, which was missing, he wrote it there. There are so many missing chapters were there. He added to that and did all this and did a great Vedadi who knows who is the Brahman. Right? His qualification. He established number of temples, starting from what is it? About the Himalaya hills. Kedarnath, Badrinath, Kedarnath. Starting from there, up to down South Kerala, a Devi temple. Who? This Meenat. In Cochin, there is Chotanikara Devi. There are 2 sisters now, up and down, upper temple, lower temple. There's a story also, no? When he was walking, Devi said, don't look back. Wherever you look back, I will stop there. That Devi is the Mukambika. Mukambika Kshetram is also established by Adi Shankaracharya. Because he looked back when the sound came, so Devi stopped there. The story. Now, leave aside the story part of it. What I am insisting on, look at this. A man who knows none of these are the ways and means, and this is only in the Kali Yuga. No? In Satya Yuga or in the Krita Yuga, there was nothing. Treta Yuga, there were no temples. Later part of Dwapara Yuga, only that this Murti Puja or the idol worship has started. Yeah? This is all known to Adi Shankaracharya. He being a Vedanti, what I am saying, the maximum, we are reading all his Bhashyam only. He being a great Vedantist, he established these temples and statues. He said Pratishtha has been done. He has made an organization for even today. The Kedar Badrinath Puja is done by Adi Shankaracharya's Mat people. Even today, Pujari is that. People have been trained to do the puja, how to do the puja. All this exercise has been done by whom? By the greatest Vedanti. Why I am asking, Why, if he knows that this is the Brahman and that none of these things are necessary, would he have done it all this? He himself has done it, he established it. Why? He knows there are people of that level who has to travel through this path and come to my level of understanding. For them he made the ways. That's why he established all these temples. Starting from Kashmir you take, starting from Kedarnath you take, you go down to extreme, down to south. Up to that. He established all this. This is what I am trying to tell you. Now different stages and different people, different consciousness from whichever consciousness you are, but you should grow. Don't be there. Stop there only. Okay, Chautari Kara, Bhagavati. So stop there. Whole life only there. Nothing else he knows. Every day go to Kedarnath. What is the use of going to Kedarnath? Every number of times. How many times have you gone to Kedarnath? तो पुण्य का काम किया है. कोई पुण्य नहीं है. Unless you change yourself, there is no punya. Let us be very frank. Otherwise, what happens? He has told that embankment will be there. Evil will go, strike back and come back. In this Janma as Muralidharan, next Janma as Govinda, another Janma as Gopala, another Janma as Krishna, another Janma as same Paryaya of the same. Keep on doing Gopala, Govinda, you have got all the names, you know that. Punarapi Jananam, Punarapi Maranam, Bhagavan said. The man who said Punarapi Jananam, Punarapi Maranam is only like this, and he has established the temples. Is it contradictory? Great knowledgeable man, Jnani, he has established. So you understand what I am trying to tell you. Nothing is wrong, but you cannot get stuck. What is the truth you should understand? People who have facility to abstain from all this and then grow beyond the consciousness of the body and mind should grow and go to the Brahman as early as possible. This is why Hari Om and Hari Om, Swami Chinmayananji has told Hari Om and Hari Om. Hari Om, we have already told the meaning also. Hari Om. Fine, that is Santara, sorry. No, here it is Satra, they said Satra. Sat Atmanastranam Vindate iti Santrayana. Satrayana. Trayate iti Satrayana. What we call observance of silence now, maunam, is also equivalent to Brahmacharya. Maunam is equal to Brahmacharya. Silence we spoke, I think chapters on silence. I told all these things. I don't want to repeat. For us, the silence is. I'm not talking, why silence, but talking through the eyes and ears and hands and legs and body. It is continuous. Right? He's in silence, he doesn't speak. Maunam vrata. He will not be a Brahmachari, he will be a Karmachari. Mr. Chari. Mr. Chari, that's all. Some Chari he is, no doubt. But not Brahmachari. Because that again is the silence of all the senses. On account of God, because all the senses should go in, that's what he says, the maunam, you see. Mauna, the meaning itself, you see. Mana should be going into the absolute silence, it's called the maunam. When the mana goes into silence, all the indriyas will go into silence. See, there is no activity. Mana should go into maunam. Mana should go into silence is called maunam. Mana going into manam. Mana going into manam is maunam. So that maunam is the worth. That one should understand. Just keeping silent and doing all sorts of activities with somebody says, I am in the is mauni hai. So paper mein likhe dene. So many mauni babas are there. बाबा मौनी है तो क्या करना होगा तो उसमें वो लिख के देगा. I'm sorry for I'm not criticizing, just telling you the example. See how misled maunam. Principle of maunam is something great, auspicious. Upanishad has explained, and he made it as a cheap this one. See, person practicing, is it not? Completely making his different. So on account of the contact of the Atman, which is supreme silence. Why? Because the Atma is supreme silence. That's why we call Atma is a witness. A witness is absolute silence. Silence in the sense, not no activities. Silence itself is an activity. In silence, Brahmaloka activities are there, not the physical life. So, mana going into mauna. That's why it is known as maunam. The silence is only meant for this. After that, when you are in Brahmaloka, the activities of Brahmaloka is totally different. It is auspicious. There is no mana, so there is no maunam there. One understands things correctly and enters into the natural state of the psychic silence by the acquisition of the knowledge that automatically follows the practice of self-control. That automatically follows the practice of self-control. In self-control is Brahmacharyatwa. That automatically follows Brahmacharyatwa, the silence. That follows the Brahmacharyatva is the true silence. But by trying the silence, one can also try to attain that, no doubt about it. But one has to be sincere on that. As I told you, this kind of silence for show off is of no use. Silence is that mana should be in silent. All the activities should be in silent. Some Brahmachari was there, I don't want to name them because you might be knowing them. Earlier days, not now. When Brahmachari used to come, they always used to come here. So when Brahmachari, I go into Maunam every month one day. So I asked, what do you do? I'll close the door. And cooking, because they in the room itself they cook and all that. So I'll cook and eat. Fine, no problem. Then whole day, because I'll take the books, whatever books are there, I keep on reading. Is his way of Mauna, but that's also not the true Mauna. He is trying so that his mind is not distracted to some other thing, so he is concentrating on it. So through that, he is trying to attain the true Maunam. That is not Maunam, is what I am trying. That is for your trying to get the Maunam. It's a good act what he is doing. It's a good act. He is taking the Upanishad, he is taking some other Shastras and reading. It's very good. But that is not Maunam. But he doesn't talk. That's not Maunam. By this he is practicing to attain that, the true Maunam. That can be told. I want to make you understand the true meaning of silence. Is why I told you all this. Then comes Anasakyana. Anasakyana is the vow of fasting. The vow of fasting which people engage themselves in is also equivalent to Brahmacharya. We have discussed about the fasting, what should be the fasting, how the fasting. So all these rituals, when you look, that's what I told you that he is trying to compare with the physical activities of that, so that one understand exactly what it is. So fasting is one way of that. Then Atman does not perish at time. Therefore, this imperishable character of Atman is comparable with imperishable results of the accrue to one and the practice of religious vow, fasting. Religious vow of fasting. This is religious. Religious is that ritually done certain things with discipline is called religiously doing it. That religiously doing has become the religious, and that religious has become the religion. And they have bifurcated them, I say. Religiously doing certain things, constantly doing, very systematically doing certain things, constantly doing it, perfectly doing it, they are religiously doing it. So perfection, there's also a meaning of perfection. Religion is also known as perfection, because religiously doing means perfectly doing it, right way of doing it, exactly things, no discipline, with the discipline it's doing it. So religion also should be there. That's the meaning of original religion. But today the meaning of religion has become different. So fasting, what am I talking about is it? Anasakyana is again fasting for the purpose of attainment of the Brahmacharyatam, or during Brahmacharyatam one attains the fasting Anasakyana. But I have already told you, I don't have to explain further, that pretending of the fasting, or with a misconception of fasting, not knowing what is the true fasting, doing it is of, it doesn't derive any result. Yeah? It's okay, maybe that mechanically or physically it may attain some results. The stomach being empty and something like that, those benefits can be derived, but not for the purpose of Brahmacharya. That's what I'm saying. It's not that fasting should not be done. Do fasting for some other purposes, okay, but not the real fasting. Here what you mean fasting is totally different. That has to be done for the Brahmachayatwa is what I am trying to tell you. Forest dwelling, which is known as the Vanaprastha, is also Brahmacharya, leaving away from the austerities, because among things then he finds it difficult, so he secludes himself and attaining it. Once he is used to that seclusion, even in the crowd, he remains in seclusion. This can be done. This practicing can be done. It's called Vanaprastha. Vanaprasthana, actually it is Prasthana to Vanam. Prasthana to Vanam. Starting towards the Vanam, Prasthanam, in order to settle down. Prasthana. In order to settle down in the Vana, in order to settle down, one goes to the Vana. Vana is that where only the nature of trees and things are there, where the normal activities of the human is not there. So that's the austerity can be maintained, austerity or Brahmacharyatam can be maintained through this all practices also to gain the self-control. A person who transcends mortal experience and is blessed with an access of the realm of Brahma has to pass through various mystical experiences. The word mystical experiences means there is no physical explanation for mystical experience. It's mystery. It is a mystery and it is mystic. When it is a mystery, how can physically explain it? But Maharshi has tried to explain the mystical experience, how it would be if I translate it into physical activity, how it would look like. He has told this. Please understand that. It is not to be taken as it is, like seeing light. What mystical experience, okay. Now, he only says that, so we compare with sunlight, okay, things like that, or some other light. It's not true. There, when you go beyond the Brahmaloka, in Brahmaloka, the mystical experience, when you're traveling from the Atma to Brahmaloka, through the Atma to Brahmaloka, the mystical experience is totally different. You release the body consciousness and mind consciousness, the mystical experience takes place, takes over you. You are taken over by the mystical experience. So long you were under the rulership of the mind and the indriyas, And from the clutches of the mind and indriyas, the misconceptions, when you release and go into the truth, the experience, how it would be, is impossible to explain for a physical body or a physical mind. It's not possible because it is mystical. This is a mystery for a person because this mind cannot perceive the mysteries. That's why we call it as mystery. That what is not known to the mind when it happens, we call it is a mystery. So if it is a mystery, how can you understand it? Maharshi in the following pages, he tries to, no, it's a simile, it tries to put this experience, suppose I translate it into physical experiences, how it would look like now. It will be like, not even 1% or 0.1%. What is Brahman and what, your experience? How to explain the Brahman is what? Struggling with number of Upanishads. Still, it is not possible for normal human being to identify what is Brahman. But this is what Maharishi is also telling, that the mystical experience of the soul, the mystical experience of the Atma will be explained. How it can be. So don't take, when I am explaining all that, you may think that, okay, if I feel like this, that means I am crossing the level of Atma and in the Brahmalok. Don't try to do that. Don't try to believe it. Okay, so because mind is very tricky, It can take you to any loka. Why Brahmaloka? Beyond Brahmaloka also he can take you. So transcends absolute. This experience, I think, we will talk in the next class. Page number 2. Okay, this will be the second paragraph of, 853. Second paragraph, 853, page 224. Just keep a note so that I don't keep, sometimes I forget. Om Shanti.